Hey, this is Troy Taylor with the Championship Football Coaches Clinic. So excited to have my longtime friend, Brad Lutz, here today. And, we decided not to do the Championship Football Coaches Clinic in person this year. And Brad started his clinic, the Gridiron Football Coaches Clinic. And just have him here today. You want to talk to him about the clinic, talk to him a little bit about his program. But Brad, for the people that don't know you, can you tell the clinic a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, like you, Troy, I'm a Richmond boy from the giddy up. I grew up in Richmond, played high school football at Verona High School. Had a fantastic experience there, playing for Ed Bullheller and Gary Chilcoat. I'm a Blue Devil till the day I die. There's no doubt about that. That's a great football family to be a part of. I was very blessed to meet you and a bunch of other guys at UVA Wise, where we went and played. I guess we started there. It was Clinch Valley College, and during our time there, they decided to change the name to University of Virginia's College at Wise.
All right, let me stop you there, because
what's that, buddy?
I'm going to say there's two types of guys. All right, there's guys that play, and there's guys that get guys ready to play. I was the guy that got guys ready to play. All right, so that's a practice player. So I practiced. The games were my practice, so I had to go hard. Now, Brad, he actually played.
Well, we were fortunate to have a fantastic. Wait, let me tell you this. We had a great program there at Wise, and partly because of it being led by Bill Ramseyer and Bruce Wassam. But we had a good group of guys. I don't care if you were a practice player, starter, All-American, what it was. We had a good group of guys from all over the state of Virginia. And Coach Ramseyer built a team that made everybody important. So regardless of who you were and what your role were, we were all there to win. Was blessed to play there for 4 years and meet a lot of great people. Coach Ramseyer knew that I wanted to coach, and I was going to be a fifth-year guy there, and brought me on staff for 1 year, where I helped with the offensive line, and then went back home to Verona, where Coach gave me the greatest opportunity I had in my life as a coach. I was a JV offense and defensive line coach at Verona for 2 years. And then when one of the best O-line coaches I know that the Central Region had at the time, Lenny Pritchard, who was our varsity line coach, decided to go to Deep Run, it opened an opportunity for me to move up. And spent 7 years there with an incredible staff. Obviously, Coach Chilcoat leading that. I mean, Kevin Lewis, Blanda Wolf, Kevin Holland, Zach Hayden, Brian Moore, the list goes on. I mean, we just had a great group of guys there and great players. And then because of my family moving, I decided to move closer to them out near the Harrisonburg area, where I was an assistant coach at Broadway High School, and then took over that job in 2009 as the head coach, and spent 10 years there as the head football coach. One of the most rewarding times in my life, some of the greatest people I've ever been around, living that part of the state. And then a few years ago, took a leap of faith and moved out further to Southwest Virginia, a little bit closer to my in-laws, moved my parents, moved my brother and his wife and my nieces and my whole family to Roanoke to take the head job at William Byrd High School, where I have been the last 4 years. So trying to build something special here, and it's been a lot of work, but we're getting it moving. So and Troy, I just appreciate you having me on here. I know you've done a great job with your clinic, and that was where I really got started with the whole thought process, is that a high school coach could do something at that caliber. I know that we're not even close to where you have yours, but we're going to start it and try to get it off the ground this year in hopes that maybe we could have one that would be more for Southwest Virginia coaches.
Yeah, we need to have more clinics. We need to have more opportunities for coaches to get together and fellowship and understand that this profession is a ministry and that this profession is a fraternity. And we had the opportunity. Jim Tim's on here. Jim Tim is known as Coach Cyborg. He's leaving comments. He's from East Strasburg. Give 110%, do small things, big things will show. Do your best. That's all that matters. That's what Brad Lutz is going to do, Jim Tim. All right. Our college football coach, Bill Ramseyer, was personal friends with Paul Brown. And Paul Brown and his Bengals would come every summer and they would do their summer camp at Wilmington College. What was so great about Coach Ramseyer? Coach Ramseyer would have, if he was still living, he would have been at the clinic and he would be speaking at the clinic. What was so great about Coach Ramseyer?
I feel like he's just a personal guy. I felt like he was a great leader. It was the first time I actually watched somebody run a football program in a business-like manner. You know, he was a guy that didn't overlook.
He was a pro. He was a pro.
He didn't overlook anything. Football was very business-like on the field. He was a full investment in everybody. I feel like he wasn't a guy that just kind of wrote his players to be great players. He wrote his players to be good on and off the field. But I just never experienced that kind of leadership. And it's hard to put in words the impact. And he didn't even have to use words to really impact people. I mean, he even just had a look about him that was different. And, you know, I felt like he was a guy that surrounded himself around great people. You know, Bruce Wassum was one of the greatest men, I think, that has come through the University of Virginia's College at Wise, not just as a football coach, but as a teacher, an educator, and a mentor. So he understood how important it was to have a wingman that was that big of a personality and that great of a man. But Coach managed to find players all over, not just the state, but the East Coast. You and I played with some guys from Florida that were incredible athletes. And he brought them into kind of the coal country of Southwest Virginia and really it really built a nationally ranked program. And I'll say it, you know, UVA Wise, I feel like was its best back in those years during the Bill Ramseyer days, where we would go play teams from Jacksonville University all the way up to Butler University in Indiana. So it was, we played an independent schedule and picked fights with teams all over the East Coast. And Coach Ramseyer did a phenomenal job of building that literally from scratch, which was fun to watch. And Troy, you think about it, man, how valuable was that for us to be a part of, to see that as coaches ourselves, to watch somebody kind of build something from absolutely nothing.
Yeah, he was a pro. You know, he had worked, you know, with Paul Brown, and I'd say Paul Brown had that same type of demeanor. And, you know, to go from the high school programs that we came from, which were more, I don't want to say family oriented, because it was family oriented at Clinch Valley College, but it was not pro. It was a high school program with high school coaches, and it was no recruiting, and it was just developing guys, you know, that were from Verina and from LC Bird. But you get into, this guy was a real college coach. I mean, he could have been the head coach at Virginia Tech or UVA, and he probably could have been a pro football coach. I mean, he was just gifted.
Without a doubt. And, you know, one funny story about him to kind of put in perspective of how everything mattered to this guy.
I mean, he's like Saban. He was like a Nick Saban.
Without a doubt. And, you know, Troy, you remember the infamous fifth quarters that you didn't want to get your name called out for a fifth quarter. If you
there you go. Jim, we're going to come back to your question, but I had to ask my buddy from Hurley, Greg Tester. We're going to have Greg on here. And my brother met Greg Tester before I got a chance to meet him. I think I went to Pound and watched him play. I think he ran for about 500 yards. Alan Bailey took me, but I think my brother met him on the side of a mountain at Hurley. People really don't understand how good Coach Ramseyer was and what he did for Southwest Virginia. Good to see you guys. And we'll get you on here, Greg. Hope everybody's doing good in Hurley, Virginia, Southwest Virginia. We talk a little bit about Coach Ramseyer. We're going to talk a little bit about Coach Chilcoat. We're going to talk a little bit about Bucky, and then we're going to get into the clinic. And Jim Tim's got some questions. So let's jump into Jim Tim's question, because Jim is a football freak. He is Al Groh would have called you a football nerd. He is a master motivator, and he loves to blitz. He wants to know what kind of style of program do you run, philosophy, etc. What kind of scheme do you run offensively and defensively?
Well, we've been lucky, man, over the last few years to be able to run a lot of multiple sets offensively. You know, I've coached at Verona where I felt like the athletes drove the success of the program more than the scheme. You know, at Broadway, we had a lot of kids that were farm kids. That was big poultry farm area.
Yes.
And a lot of
Mennonites. A lot of Mennonites.
Without a doubt. A lot of kids that were farm kids. And we were able to do some smash mouth. And then we ran through a little spell there where we had some more athletic kids that we were able to spread it out a little bit, but still have a run emphasis. And then defensively, we've been multiple. Yeah, it just really depends on what kind of kids we have, Troy, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So, he's multiple. I think he's ran everything.
Without a doubt.
To the I formation, to the spread. He wants to know about your strength and conditioning program. We'll get into that, Jim Tim. Let's talk a little bit about Coach Chilcoat, which if you have not seen it, Jim Tim, you need to go watch that Coach Gary Chilcoat podcast we did, a football life, and how much he impacted me and you. Coach Chilcoat was one of the best men, and he was a student of the game. I thought that you were actually going to name the clinic after him. I thought it was going to be the Gary Chilcoat Clinic, which it still might end up being, but he deserves it. That guy was a clinic guy.
Troy, it's funny you bring that up. I almost did that. And, we had our line camp last spring, the first time we could have it at Bird since COVID. And we named that the Gary Chilcoat Memorial Line Camp. And,
look at this guy. He loves it.
Yeah.
He saw it. He watched it.
That was a great thing. And, I think the best part about that was some of the guys that coach for Coach got together and we got on the same field again, and man, it felt good. So, no, that was great that we had that opportunity, but I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the clinic took a new name as it gets bigger, hopefully.
Yeah. The Gary Chilcoat Gridiron Coaches Clinic. I mean, I like the branding, and man, I'm telling you, this guy's got the best graphics of anybody in America. I mean, if you need a graphic done, you need to go see Coach Gosney at Verona. Now you're going to pay, but you're going to pay for the best.
Absolutely.
So Coach Chilcoat was a great coach. I look back there, I see the jerseys. Talk a little bit about your experience of going to the Super Bowl and meeting Brett Favre. You can actually look Coach up on YouTube and hear about this story and what all happened with what y'all did for Bucky. Bucky was a former player at Broadway. Brad, you did not coach him, correct?
Correct.
And he had passed away in duty for the armed services. But Brad is such a good person, and his friend Clarence Adams passed away in Verona in war, in the Iraqi War of Freedom. And he did something for one of the former players at Broadway that his mom appreciated so much. And they brought Brett Favre in there, and he was actually on national TV. All right. I showed it to all my classes. It's on YouTube, and he got to go to the Super Bowl. Talk about what that was like.
Well, I'll give you the short version and because it's a long story, but Clarence passed away back in 2004 when I was coaching at Verona. And we did a few tributes while we were at Verona for him. And then when I got the head job at Broadway, we decided to dedicate each game in honor of a different soldier. And because Clarence's birthday was in September, we saved the game closest to his birthday for him. So we played for him once every year and then a new soldier every other week. Well, when I was on vacation in June of 2010, I got a phone call from one of our assistant coaches, that Bucky Anderson. And Bucky Anderson was kind of that legendary kid that every small town has. I mean, he was a 2-time state champion in wrestling. He was an all-district football player. And our coach called and said that he had been killed by an IED in Afghanistan.
Man.
So during my time at the beach, I was sitting there thinking, you know, when I get back to the little small town of Broadway, they're going to be devastated. And, you know, you and I being football guys, man, we understand how big of a deal football is and how it can save people. We thought, well, how can we use football to heal this town? And decided to have a soldier tribute game, which would be our last regular season game of the year. During that time, I got to meet the Anderson family, and they're as good a family as I have met. Fast forward a few years, I was actually on bus duty and got a phone call from the NFL that they wanted to speak to me a little bit about our soldier tribute game. Fast forward a couple weeks, they sent a 9-man crew from NFL Films to document for 2 days worth of our soldier tribute game, and then actually came back again a second time, where that's when Brett Favre came with them to let us know that that documentary was going to be featured on the Today Show. Went to the Today Show, and then they told us that we were going to go to Super Bowl 50 in San Francisco. And then a year later, they actually did one more documentary on a follow-up on the game. And I think the producer that we worked with and the director from NFL Films, I think, put it the best, is that was not about, football or myself. That was about us, kind of like what you're doing with a lot of your podcasts, Troy. We were documenting something that will be permanent. Bucky Anderson, obviously his sacrifice is something that will never be forgotten, but it is the NFL Films documented his life in a short documentary that is permanent. Like it's forever. Yeah. And that's important to his family. You know, his mother is a Gold Star mom, and her passion is keeping the memory of her son alive. So, you know, we were allowed to do that on a big stage, and very grateful that Bucky's name lives on through NFL Films and the National Football League.
And he's carried on that tradition in Roanoke. This is one of the best guys I've ever met. Me, you never know. You never know what version of me you're going to get. I think I'm about 6 people wrapped up into one. All right. But the one that's good, that's Brad Lutz. All right. So I don't know. I'm like a ticking time bomb. I'm like a roller coaster. I mean, you never know. So Jim Tim wants to know about your strength program. All right.
Well, I trained under one of the best. Coach Chilcoat was one of the best strength and conditioning coaches in the area. And I got to learn a lot from him. But, Troy, coaching is about, stealing what you can. And I've been, fortunate to have some great assistant coaches over the years who have taught me a lot. Clinics, like the reason why we're on here to talk a little bit about clinics. I've learned a lot. Back when Mike Gentry was at Virginia Tech and I was at Broadway, they actually had a clinic there where you could bring your players. And we did that. Jarrett Ferguson, who's actually a Stanton River boy right down the road from me right now, where I'm at, and back on staff at Tech was a very useful resource. But, we've got a great weight room program. And I think what makes it the best is that our players show up and our assistant coaches show up.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a lot of people involved, and our principal renovated our weight room here within the last couple months and doubled the space.
I hadn't used that sound effect. I wanted to use that sound effect of people clapping, because you don't see that very often.
No.
A supportive administration. We have a supportive administration at LC Bird, and they take care of our kids. They take care of our coaches. They take care of our teachers. And some young coaches underestimate the importance of an amazing administration. You don't know until you don't have the support. And once you don't have it, you'll know it. Talk about that a little bit, Brad, before we get into the clinic.
Well, I've been fortunate to be a head coach at 2 places, and have had some great experiences. But when I came to interview for the William Byrd job, I think one of the things that stood out to me the most in the interview was how passionate our principal was. Tammy Newcomb is a good a principal to work for as I've ever been around. I've worked for some good ones, but she is a sports person, and I greatly appreciate that. We're in a complete overhaul job here. I mean, when we got here, there was no JV program and only 20 some kids in the program. So she knew that we were going to have a lot of work to do, and she has been so supportive. And she's a sports person. You go to games and she's there at all the games and wants to talk about football, and she's just great. But without a doubt, without the support of so many people, I think there's a lot of head coaches that feel like they have to do it on their own. And if you try that, you're going to be short-lived in that career as a coach. You won't last long. So to be surrounded by great ADs, great principals, great coaches, and great families. That was a big thing that we really felt like at Broadway was one of the best things about that community is the football families that we had there were next to none. So support in every direction is super important in being a successful head coach, without a doubt.
Yeah. So you found out that I wasn't going to have the clinic. How did you find that out? Did you see it on Twitter, text?
Well, I texted you, man, because I was making our spring schedule right after the season ended,
and
texted you. Heck, I remember I went to the first one you had at Meadowbrook.
2009.
Without a doubt, loved it. Thought it was outstanding. Brought our staff from Broadway down there, and that was kind of we're a regular there, and always want to get down there. Not just because you put on a great clinic, man, but to see you and see some of our old buddies in Richmond, I can't get back there enough. And then when you told us that you were going to kind of go in a different direction, I just thought we were going to be down one clinic. We try to go to a college clinic, we try to go to a Glazier clinic, and we try to go to your clinic. And it kind of over Christmas, I started thinking a lot and waiting on it. I said, man, I might be able to put a small version of what Troy put together just to see if we could get it started. And if anything else, it'll give a chance for our coaches to get better. It really took off. And while we haven't had it yet, obviously, I'm really happy with the speakers and some of the people that we've got involved in this.
I got to get Coach Goforth on here, man. As Sean Bell's coach. Coach, when do you want to do your podcast? Just text me, Coach. Text me, and we'll get you on here, Coach. We'll talk ball. We'll probably do about 2 hours. All right, so you decide you're going to have your own clinic. Then what do you do after that, Brad?
Well, I just started to reach out to a couple local coaches in the area, high school coaches, that said, do you think this is something that coaches would be receptive to? Troy, when I moved here 4 years ago, buddy, we had a football. I mean, I got the moving truck in the driveway, unloaded my stuff, and we started the season. And then, COVID hit, and my circle was really small here. Zach Hayden's here, a mutual friend that you and I have. That's a fantastic coach. But outside of that, I hadn't really met a whole lot of people. So I wasn't really even sure if people would want to come. So I reached out to a couple of surrounding coaches, and
Tim, you can come down to the clinic. How much does it cost per coach?
It is $45.
$40. Drive down to Roanoke, Virginia. All right. Since you're coming from you're coming from Rochester, New York, you'll get $40. All right. You get if you mention the Championship Football Coaches Clinic and you come from Rochester, you get 40. That's a special deal for you, Tim. All right. So the coaches bought into it. They wanted to have a clinic in Roanoke. Where was the closest clinic before you started yours?
I mean, I guess the closest that wasn't a college camp or clinic would maybe be yours, Troy. I don't, Glazier has one in Charlotte, which is not too bad. But as far as having one that a high school's created, I guess maybe Dobbins, Bennett, and you guys. Those are the ones that I'm familiar with. But so, I figured the guys I talked to said, look, Lutz, it's worth a shot, man. So then I started reaching out to some college coaches to see if they would speak, and really I figured I was going to get a bunch of no's because of the time of year, and actually I didn't get a single no. I had everybody was on board, which was great to see.
Yeah. So, the secret to having a good clinic is kind of like the secret of having a good podcast. You pretty much just get a good coach in a room. Some people, they need, a whiteboard. Some people want a chalkboard. Some people want an overhead projector. Some people need an LCD projector. But pretty much an LCD projector and a cord to hook up your laptop, and then you go. And whoever can get in the room gets in the room. So pretty much if you get good coaches and get them in a classroom, the clinic will run itself. But the thing, Brad, is you got to make sure you got a coach in there that's going to keep these guys on time. Start on time and end on time. I only did mine 50 minutes. That way we could start every hour.
And Troy, I think I almost got run over by you last year trying to get guys in rooms. So I know you were the guy, man.
I don't know. When we had it at the hotel, I don't even think I cared. I didn't, because it was so many people. I mean, the reason I didn't do it is because, well, there's a college that said that there are all these rules occur, and they're real sticklers for rules. Okay. I think the people who don't have rules are the ones that usually win, but I had to have it at a hotel. So I had to rent a hotel, and then you got to pay for this and that, and you got to buy coffee so you get a discount. And then, you got some college coaches that make probably $250,000 a year. They won't even pay for their breakfast buffet. So then I got to pay for them. So I decided it was almost too small last year. If it got any bigger, I'm going to have to rent the Richmond Convention Center, either rent the Richmond International Airport or Richmond, whatever it's called, the Raceway. You're from the East End.
Yeah.
All right. So, or it gets too small and everybody goes, oh, the clinic went down. And we had, my assistant coaches started this YouTube channel that's now got, I think they said 50,000 subscribers. So we said, we're going to do it on here. So who was the first coach that you asked that committed right on the spot?
Goodness, man, that's a good question. Troy, I'll be honest with you. I think I sent texts. I just sat down one night and texted every coach that recruits our area that I could think of that was regularly coming through our school.
That's smart.
And got a bunch of yeses right out the gate. But I can't tell you who was the first one for sure.
Okay, we got Coach Tatum, Coach. Coach Tatum is very big on YouTube. He's very big on Twitter. He's very big in the hog football chat. This guy knows so much more than I knew when I was 25. All right, all I knew was how to get penalties. Okay. Coach Tatum, what's the date of the clinic?
It is.
Look down there at the bottom of the screen. What we got, Brad? When's the date of the clinic?
Saturday, February 25th. And first session starts at 9. We're going to open doors at 8, but first session will be at 9. And then our last session will conclude at 2:50, 3 o'clock.
On Twitter, what is your name on Twitter, Brad?
Heck, Troy. I think it's at Coach Brad Lutz, maybe. Heck, I'm on Twitter a lot, but
I retweeted it, Coach Tatum. But Coach Tatum is a guy, if you need a speaker, he's the guy you need to get. He is an up-and-comer, rising star in the profession. He's a high school coach in North Carolina. Coach Tatum, we need you to get the word out in North Carolina. All right, that's why Coach is on here, is to get guys like you that are influencers, to get them at this clinic. This is the best one-day football coaches clinic in Virginia. I will put my name on that.
Well, I appreciate it.
Let's talk a little bit about Blanda Wolf. The Wolf.
Goodness.
He's coming and he's speaking at the clinic.
Well, he's going to be at the clinic, but he's not going to be speaking. We're going to have.
He'll be signing autographs.
He will
be signing autographs in the lobby.
He will be probably has to charge for that. And then Coach Heffernan, the new offensive line coach from UVA, is going to be.
Let's talk a little bit about him. The new UVA offensive line coach.
Yes, sir.
All right. They lost their other coach. He went to NC State, right? They brought this guy in. Where did he come from?
He came from Stanford. Stanford was his last job, and then
Stanford.
Yeah,
the Stanford Cardinal, David Shaw.
Correct.
Wow.
And
I can't even spell Stanford.
He spent some time, I think, in NFL with the Bills and the Lions, and maybe a stint at Eastern Kentucky, maybe. So lucky
Coach Tatum is the O-line guru. He's an O-line guru. You need to be there, Coach Tatum. You need to get all those guys in the Hog Football chat because they got a very strong social media presence. Get those guys to come to this clinic. The internet is – here you go. I'm on it. Let's blow the clinic up. I'll try to get your friends from the South and North Carolina to come up there. There you go. North Carolina, we love you. All right? We love you. We are VA. We are VA all day. We love Virginia. But North Carolina is the same place. All right? It's just a few miles south of us. But we got love for Petey Pablo. North Carolina. Get them all up here. All right, so this O-line coach, did they give you specific topics? What is the offensive line coach from UVA going to speak on?
We're still trying to finalize that. We just got them, I believe, last week. So we're finalizing that with Coach. So
yeah, that's always very important is to get a topic because guys are always going to say, well, Troy, what are they talking about? You can never go wrong with offensive line fundamentals and drills.
Without a doubt.
Offensive line fundamentals and technique. Because you might not run a play they run, but you have to know how to block. Now, you're an offensive line guy, Brad Lutz.
That's right.
Do you think you have to learn to man block first? Or do you need to learn how to zone block?
Well, when we were at Verona, and we've always been a power scheme guy. Scheme, we were always, that's what we did. We would try to combo and try to get to second level. And we've done that everywhere I've been with a lot of the same rules. Heck, Blanda was our offensive coordinator, and I still use a lot of the same terminology he used. But I've dabbled in zone a lot more here lately, Troy, just because we didn't have as much size and the kind of backs that we had. We felt like we're going to be that type of guy. So so I've done a little bit of both, but I'm more of a gap scheme power guy, block down, kick out.
Yeah, I love it all.
Yeah.
It's either go right or go left to me.
That's
we're
right.
Zoning to the right, we're gapping to the left. And I apologize if my microphone's popping. I mean, nice. I thought I had the best mic. They told me that I got the same mic as Joe Rogan, but I don't think that's true. Is my mic popping?
A little bit.
Hold on for a second. I'm going to unplug my mic.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Is that better?
Yeah, sounds okay.
I still hear popping. I don't know if it's my mic or yours. It's okay. Okay, we got 7 viewers in here watching us, and we need some questions. It might be because my Wi-Fi is slow. Jim 10 says man block all the way. Physical, physical, physical. So Jim 10 believes in physical football. He likes to pound the football. Supposedly he's ran the ball 60 times in a game. That's child abuse to hand the ball. They did that at Verona to Brandon Miner. They gave it to him 60 times a game. He went to Michigan. That was a good play. Verona was bigger and stronger than most colleges back in the 90s. That is true, Richard Kyle Anderson. All right, so after the UVA line coach, who we got, Brad?
Oh, goodness. We've got well, I'll just kind of go down the list, Troy. Just give me a second.
Let's just start. Just give me one at a time.
Okay. Well, for starters, we've got Coach Smith, outside linebackers coach and special teams coordinator from Old Dominion University.
Let's talk a little bit about him because I don't know a lot about him.
Okay.
Coach Smith at ODU. I like Ricky Ronnie. Mm-hmm. I like the head football coach at ODU. I think he's a winner. And Coach Smith, I have not been able to meet him in person, but he's got one of our players down there, Chris Trinidad. And I'm looking forward to seeing his talk. He's a defensive guy, right? He's a coordinator.
He is. He's a special teams coordinator and coaches the outside linebackers.
Okay.
So he's
So what are you thinking about for him? What topic you think? I mean, right now, I would always ask guys, Brad, what do you want these guys to speak on? You know, ask the other high school coaches. So if you have a particular topic you want Brad to ask these guys to speak on, you need to put it in the comments. All right. You need to hit him up if you're watching this later. So what are you thinking about him speaking about?
What's that, buddy?
What are you thinking about for him?
He's going to be speaking about pass rush progression.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So he's a great coach. He's a great recruiter, man. I mean, he's a fantastic
Where's his background?
Guy.
Where did he come from?
He was at Penn State at some point. So he's a good coach. He's a great recruiter. They actually did I guess if you want to call it like a little satellite coaching clinic out here in Roanoke last year. And he was a part of it. Their old O-line coach, the head coach came out. They shared with us all night. They were great. Just fantastic guys. I'm like you, Troy. I really like their staff.
Here you go. I've ran ISO 7 times in a row before. Did you run it to the same side? Did you run it to your sideline 7 times in a row? I'm pretty sure Bird has probably ran it 21 times in a row. Haven't they, Brad?
Yeah, I've run power. I know against Harrisonburg one year we ran it 9 times in a row.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a great football play. I told Coach Tatum, ISO is my favorite play. Boom, here we come, right through the hole. Who we got next?
So Coach Smith, another Coach Smith from Christopher Newport.
I talk about Coach Smith because I like Coach Smith a lot.
He's going to be he's their running back tight end coach, and is going to be talking about organizing empty formations and empty offense.
All right, Coach Smith and the job that Paul Crawley is doing is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Paul Crawley was on the podcast. Make sure you go and watch Paul Crawley. You want to talk about a great speaker. Mm-hmm. That guy can go. But he played for Chris Beatty.
Right.
At Lansdowne High School. Go watch
a great
Chris Beatty podcast.
He's a really good recruiter too, man. I'm a football coach, but I'm a football dad. You know, my son started 11 games at center for Emory and Henry, but I went around and got to get, the recruiting side of things with my son. And, he recruited my son at Christopher Newport. He's a fantastic recruiter too.
Wow. You have a kid in college.
Yeah. We're getting old, Troy.
Hey, man, you might be getting old. I'm just getting started. All right. I'm here until my heart explodes or I have a stroke, whichever one happens first. And what Troy, we got next?
And then we've got Coach Henry, who is the head football coach at Averett University, and he's going to be talking about game planning and practice, trying to incorporate game planning into your weekly practices.
I like Coach Patrick Henry.
Yes, good, great guy.
Is my mic popping, Coach Tatum?
I can hear it, Troy. I hope it's not mine.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I unplugged my mic.
Yeah, I don't know. If I unplug my mic.
It might be my Wi-Fi. I had to come home because somebody must not have paid the Wi-Fi in Chesterfield County Public Schools. It got cut off. I got coaches coming back. Some coaches from Lackawanna are coming tonight. They're going to be speaking. My good friend Ray Dayton's going to be speaking. But we might have to go to a Hardee's and have to get on their Wi-Fi. All right, and probably eat some chicken, fried chicken, maybe get them to make us some biscuits and gravy. I love Hardee's biscuits and gravy. All right, tastes just like my dad used to make. All right, so my microphone's popping. Maybe I need to stop talking so loud. Who we got next? Patrick Henry's the head coach at Avery.
Correct.
Great guy. Came and spoke at our clinic many times.
Yeah. And then next up is Coach Rigney from Bridgewater College. I think he's one of the best O-line guys in the state. I mean, he is a fantastic coach, O-line coach, played at JMU on one of the the most recent national championship team, and now coaching for Coach Lim down there. Does a good job.
Okay, I'm going to apologize.
What's up?
The reason that my mic was popping, and it must still be, I thought it was because I had it hooked up to the camera. Anchor, microphone, check. Yeah, I don't know, man. It might just be my Wi-Fi slow. But Patrick Henry came to the clinic and spoke at our clinic, and he's going to do a great job. Who we got next, Brad?
Well, I'm not sure if you heard me. It might have been I might not have said it loud enough, but the Coach Rigney from Bridgewater College, offensive line.
The O-line coach from Bridgewater.
Yep.
I don't know him, but what does he go? Does he give you a topic yet?
He's going. I'm an O-line guy, and I told him, I said, man, I need you to represent the O-line crew. So he's going to talk about offensive line play as well. And he's one of the coaches that came out. Him and Coach Smith actually too from Christopher Newport came to to our Gary Chilcoat Memorial Line Camp last year too. So he supported us in multiple ways, and fantastic guy. Started center for the national championship JMU team a few years back. Great coach. Next up is got Coach Anglin from Alderson Broadus. He's a defensive back coach. He's going to be talking about man coverage. And then and next up was actually a guy that's going to be, I think, on one of your podcasts, Coach Saunders from down in Georgia.
I've been trying to get hooked up with Coach Saunders. We've had, some conflicts with, me or, him. But look at the bald Coach K. What did you do? Did you change your name from Richard Anderson to the bald Coach K? Now look at this unsportsmanship here. See, that is what I'm talking about. A guy jumping up over top of a referee. He might even be kicking that referee in the face. All right, that's the type of stuff that's not allowed. Brad does not allow that in his program. Who is your favorite O-line coach guru? Maybe somebody that you listen to or,
Oh, well, that's easy. So when we were at Verona, and we were putting in some of the spread stuff that West Virginia was doing with Rodriguez, we went up to their camp, and our coaches sat down with them for a long time and started putting in some of their stuff. We had Kevin Burke that was playing up there as defensive lineman, but Trickett is one of my favorite O-line guys. He's not only a great coach, man, he's a great entertainer. And I don't know if he does it on purpose.
I heard that he is very soft-spoken and he's not very intense.
Troy, this guy, man, I think he about had our kids half scared when we took him to that camp. He's a fantastic coach, man.
He's got the best offensive line book of all time.
Yeah.
It's so simple. It's genius.
Yeah, he's one of the best.
He is the best offensive line book of all time. You could just coach right from that book. Take it out on the field.
Yep.
Rick Trickett is a GOAT. If we can get him on the podcast, we will.
You let me know if he's on there because I will watch it.
We might have to bleep out some words, but that's okay. We don't care about being monetized. We make 1 penny for 1,000 ads. All right, 1 penny. So we don't care. We're not doing this for the money. We're doing it for the love. All right, so who we got next, Brad?
Coach Giannicola from Bridgewater, the defensive coordinator, who is he has got a great circuit of tackle drills that he's going to bring to the camp. When I was at Broadway, obviously that was right down the road from Bridgewater College, they actually had a tackling camp. And the only people that showed up that day for that camp where I believe was us and maybe Ari Lee. And I was hooked once we went to that. That guy, he coaches, does a fantastic job. with teaching all kinds of ways of tackling. And he doesn't recruit our school, but I wanted to make sure he came to our clinic because he does some really good stuff for tackling.
Tackling. It all goes back to blocking and tackling.
Amen. Amen. Let's see. Next up, Troy, we've got Coach Glenn, quarterback coach at Virginia Tech. He'll be there.
Wow.
He recruits our school. Another great guy, I believe, came from Georgia State before he came to Virginia Tech. He's going to be talking a lot about quarterback play. So,
I would recommend every coach learn how to coach quarterbacks, especially if you want to be a head coach, because the quarterback's the head coach. The quarterback's got to know everything.
Right.
So if you haven't ever, go and listen to Coach Glenn. All right. Sign up, pay, get down there to Roanoke on February 24th. Who we got next, Brad?
Actually, another guy that you had a podcast with, Coach Jones from Washington Lee University. He's going to be talking same topic, triple variations from the gun, man, triple option.
I'm telling you, I learned so much from his podcast. I mean, I'm going to run the speed option this year just because of what he talked about on the clinic.
Yeah.
And he is a phenomenal teacher. He's a young guy, not very old, but that triple option that Washington Lee runs, I mean, they put up more points and rush for more yards than almost any team in the country.
Yeah, actually, Troy, I listened to his podcast that you had, and that's one of the reasons why I invited him to come to our clinic. He's sharp, man. He does a good job. So excited trying to get some different offensive looks, different kinds of offenses. And I mean, who does it better than Washington Lee when it comes to option games? So glad we got him on the list.
Anybody else you got on there?
Yeah, I can keep going, Troy.
We're going to go through every single person.
Okay. So got Coach Benningston from Virginia Union. He just got named the offensive coordinator. He was a passing game coordinator and quarterback coach last year. And I know that position on that staff is near and dear to your heart. But he's a great dude. He again, recruits our school, met him last spring. And then I think it was just earlier this week was named the offensive coordinator of Virginia Union. So he was promoted to that. So excited about him. He's going to be talking about the 11 personnel and passing game out of that. So
they've done a great job over there. Mm-hmm. They had the number one rushing tailback in the country. You want to talk about getting overlooked in recruiting. This kid's not very tall, but he is a burner. He's a home run hitter.
Let me tell you, though, they ended up losing, I believe, to Wingate. Am I right on that?
I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure they lost to Wingate, and Wingate actually they're playing in the SAC with Emory, and I went and watched that. Their defense might be one of the best college defenses I've seen all season. I mean, their inside linebackers and 2 D tackles are 2 of the best that I've ever seen. I mean, they're phenomenal players. Next one up is we're going to have Coach Johnson. He's a defensive assistant at Virginia Tech. Jan Johnson played at Penn State. I think had a short career in the NFL with the Titans and the Texans. So he's going to be joining us as well. Coach Beecraft, another podcast guy for you. Coach Beecraft is going to be there from Emory Henry College talking about leveraging with formations and the RPO game out of that.
And I'm telling you, Coach Newsom, he's probably going to bring his whole staff. And if you're a high school coach, make sure you get a hold of some of those guys and you get them in a room and you pick their brains, especially Coach Newsom, one of the goats of Virginia. Mm-hmm. Coaching high school ball in the 757. I think he's originally from Irvington. And
Correct.
Then to go to JMU, O-line coach, national champion, to go to Virginia Tech and recruit Tyrod Taylor, and then to go to Emory Henry and be the head coach. One of the best men I've ever met in football.
I believe the first time I ever saw Coach, actually, believe it or not, when Verona played Kickotan. I believe he was at Kickotan when Verona lost to them. I can't remember what year it was.
1991.
Was it? No,
I think so.
no. You and I were in college, I believe.
Oh, yeah, that was later. No,
Well, maybe I missed on him, but I know he did spend some time at Kickotan, I believe, at one point.
Yeah. He was at Kickotan before he was at Heritage.
Okay, I got you. And then we've got Coach Fields, the offensive line assistant at Virginia Tech. I know prior to this year, he was the offensive line coach and run game coordinator at West Virginia State University. So excited to have him down. And then Troy, I've got some high school coaches that are going to be there too. And just as well as I do. I mean, I think when I went to my first Glazier clinic back in maybe 2000, when it was actually in Richmond, I was wide-eyed by seeing NFL guys and big college football coaches. But you and I both know, man, that you can learn a lot from those guys. But high school guys are you can have some good conversations with them. So I wanted to make sure I got some high school coaches in there. Coach Johnson is the head football coach at Bassett High School. He is one of the best guys and coaches that I've coached against. He's going to be talking about building culture. His quarterback just committed as a PWO at Virginia Tech. Fantastic coach. He has resurrected Bassett High School. So he is a fantastic coach. Glad to have him. We actually coach against each other during the season. So glad to have him. Coach Gavea Winslow, defensive assistant at Virginia Tech. He's going to be there as well talking about defense. Coach Hairston, who is the defensive coordinator at Charleston University, is going to be talking about man coverages.
Now, he played at Magna Vista, didn't he?
This is correct. And actually, Coach Johnson was the defensive coordinator at Magna Vista for 2 of the state championships. I believe coached Coach Harrison and highly recommended him as a possible speaker. So that was one that Coach Johnson helped me get. Then we're going to have Coach White from our alma mater, UVA Wise. He's our defensive coordinator, and he's actually going to be speaking on how to get the most out of huddle, which is a unique topic that you don't always see a lot of.
Here's Carter Crossland, Coach. Carter Crossland from Wickenburg High School here. Thanks for doing this. Hey, Carter, it's our pleasure. We love it. Where are you at? What state is that in? And come on down to Roanoke, Virginia to Coach's Clinic. Spread the word. All right. We want all high school coaches from West Virginia, Tennessee, Eastern Tennessee. If you're in Memphis, you don't have to come. That's a long ways away. But Eastern Tennessee, North Carolina, and Virginia to come to this clinic. All right. It is the best one-day football coaches clinic on the East Coast. All right. The championship football coaches clinic used to be, but now it's the Gridiron football coaches clinic.
Troy, we're going to have to wait and see about all that, man.
Well, I'll put my name on it. Here we go. Carter Crossland, coach, is from Wickenburg, Arizona. I had a guy come from Montana to come to our clinic in Richmond, Virginia. All right. Yeah. So Carter, hit me up. I'm on Twitter at Coach Troy Taylor. At Coach Troy Taylor. Hit me up. We'll get you on the show, Carter. Looks like you're a coach. Looks like you got some type of electronic device there taping you. We're the low man on the totem pole. All right. We don't even know how to get on a computer. We were lucky enough that we had I got a homeless guy to come in here and hook mine up for me. All right. I gave him a pack of honey buns. All right, we got, yes, sir, we follow each other. Okay, Carter, so hit me up, send me a DM on Twitter, and we'll get you on the show, man. Talk some ball. Who we got next, Lutz?
All right, we've got Coach Maloney, the offensive coordinator. I think he's the associate head coach and O-line coach at West Virginia Wesleyan. He played at VMI, and he's going to be talking about counter runs.
There you go. Counter gap.
Yeah.
The best counter gap coach of all time is Joe Gibbs.
Without a doubt. Non-negotiable.
Carter Crossman said deal. He's in. Carter, you're going to come on the show. You want to come on today? Hit me up. I'm supposed to get up with these Lackawanna guys later. So go ahead, Coach. Keep hitting me up.
Hey, here's a guy that you had at your clinic. He's one of my favorite coaches that I've ever coached against. Coach Poston. He's been Eastmont, Nelson County. I coached against him when he was at Rockbridge. He's going to be talking about West Coast concepts, run and shoot.
Yes.
He's a fantastic guy. I am so excited to have him be at our clinic. I just can't even stand it. He's a great coach, great guy, good friend of mine.
He likes to throw it a little bit now.
He can sling the rock, man. But I tell you what, he'll shove it down your throat too when you have to.
There you go. Coach Jeremy Spear, who was my coach, my freshman coach at LC Bird High School, said y'all should get some of those FUMA coaches, especially Coach Schumann. All right. You do have Coach Robertson, right?
Him and I have been in contact. I don't know. Him and I have spoken.
Coach Robertson will come, I'm sure. Coach Schumann really don't do much speaking anymore, but he comes to all the clinics. But, I mean, there is nobody in America, Coach Spear, that's coached more NFL football players than Coach John Schumann at the Fork Union Military Academy. All right. So I totally agree. Just tell them to hit us up. Lutz will hit them up, and they're going to get down there to Roanoke.
All right. Next one up, and this was big. He actually committed to our coaching, speaking at our clinic soon after he got the head job at Catawba College. Coach Haynes.
Man, he's a genius.
Yeah,
I'm gonna talk a little bit about him.
He's quarterback coach at Shepherd last year. I mean, I think their quarterback, what did he break the national record for most touchdown passes maybe ever? And he recruited our area at Shepherd, and he had just taken on the job. I figured I would ask him without any hesitation. Yeah. Said yes. His brother is a defensive coordinator at JMU. He's another guy that recruits our school. Fantastic guys. But he's going to be speaking about effective RPOs in any offense.
I'm telling you, that guy is a football junkie. Mm-hmm. He came and watched us practice in the spring, and you never know what you can say to somebody to motivate them. And he told me that I did a fantastic job of coaching those kids, and that made me feel like $1 million. Words are very literal to me. If you tell me that I made you mad, I believe that. If you tell me I'm a piece of crap, I believe that. Words have meaning, and that made me feel so good. And then we went in there, and he got on the board. All right, and he started drawing stuff out. And I said, dude, you're going to be head coach one day. And he goes, well, I already been a head coach when I was 25 in college. I was like, wow. Then he started telling me about his brother. And you should just get his brother to talk about coaching at Ohio State with Urban Meyer, because I heard that is the most vicious coaching staff of all time. I mean, they're like pit bulls.
Well, they're good guys, man. I know they do it the right way, and they're both two good recruiters. And like I said, Coach Haynes could have easily said no. I mean, he's coming from North Carolina. I mean, he's got a lot on his plate being a new head coach, but he said he's in. So we're looking
a football junkie.
Yes, and a football fan, obviously. Next one is another podcast guy that you had, Coach Brad Bradley at Heritage. He's going to come and talk. Him and his defensive coordinator are going to talk about weekly defense and offensive game prep. Coach Bradley's a great guy. He helped me out with some helmet situations when, things got a little tight this year. I was looking to get some new helmets, and he had found some things that I could look at. This great guy, fantastic coach, obviously. And we're excited to have him. Coach Adams, head coach at Ferrum College, is going to be talking about leadership. I don't know if there's a better guy. Like, he is as good a human being as you will meet. Already doing great things with Ferrum, gone back to his alma mater. He's awesome. I just talked to him the other day. Super excited about having him there. And then to round out the list, we've got 24 speakers. Number 24, we got is Coach Chris, who is the head coach at Radford High School. Spent some time. I found out last week him and I actually coached against each other when I was at Broadway and he was at Amherst. We coached against each other in the regional semifinal games. And he's going to be coming and talking about strength and conditioning. I wanted to get a strength and conditioning guy, and I asked around, and everybody said the guy to get is Coach Chris from Radford High School. So we're excited about it having him. So that rounds out the list, Troy.
That is great that you ended with strength and conditioning, because if you look up in this corner of the screen, the RAC coach is an official title sponsor of the Championship Football Coaches Clinic. Now, the RAC coach basically is like an electronic Gary Chilcoat. Dude, it's a program that boop hits a beep, and it shows the kids what exercise they're doing. And then it gives them enough time to change the weight, then boop, they start lifting. And then boop, they switch. Dude, It's like, and it's all on a screen, and it's no more pieces of paper. It's no more writing nothing down. It's all there. And RAC Coach has a promo going on right now, 6 months free. So call them, hit them up, make RAC Coach a part of your program. RAC Coach is like getting an assistant coach. All right. They will even help you to create the weight program. So I want to say thank you to RAC Coach for sponsoring the Championship Football Coaches Clinic. Brad, we're over an hour.
Yeah, man.
Just talking about the speakers at your clinic. So is there anything that you would like to leave the Championship Football Coaches Clinic with? How can they sign up? How can they get in contact with you?
Well, I've done most of my advertising on Twitter, Troy, so they can get on there. On my Twitter, I've got a link. We've got an online registration. They can go there. They can pay Venmo. They can pay check, and it's got all the details on that. They can email me at blutz, BLUTZ at rcps.us. And I can forward everything they need. I just, I think we're gonna have a great clinic. We've got some great speakers. I know our staff here at William Byrd has worked really hard to try to put on a good clinic for Southwest Virginia and surrounding areas. Obviously, I mean, I've had some people from other parts of the state who have reached out to me about coming. So we just want to, it's like you said, Troy, it's a brotherhood. It's coaching is a fraternity. It's a lot of coaches that are going to be coaching against each other there, but are there to learn together. And more importantly, it's about networking. We're going to have a lot of coaches there that could potentially maybe, recruit players or talk to you about players and just get to meet other guys in other parts of the state and have conversations with them about what they're doing. I know this, the guys that are coming, it's like not paying them anything. They're just coming because they want to help and they want to be a part of it. And they want to be a part of helping high school football in the state of Virginia. And we're thankful for that. Yeah,
man. So everybody that asks me, am I doing the clinic? Why am I not doing the clinic? Or what are you going to do? I'm going to tell you, be at the Gridiron Football Coaches Clinic. All right. There is no Championship Football Coaches Clinic in person. It's gone to the Gridiron. So Championship Football Coaches Clinic has been passed off to Brad Lutz in Roanoke, Virginia, and rebranded as the Gridiron Football Coaches Clinic. You need to be in Roanoke. You need to be at this clinic. Get the word out there. All right. We love you. Thank you for coming on, Lutz.
Anytime, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me talk a little bit about Bucky too, man. I love talking about our clinic. I love talking about football. But I can tell you a part of my purpose as a coach is to try to tell as many people as I can about Clarence Adams and Bucky Anderson. So thanks for letting me talk a little bit about that. That's a promise that I've made to their families. So even if 2 or 3 people have heard that on here today or will hear it, it was worth coming on here, man. So I really appreciate that too, Troy.
Yeah, man. Anytime, brother. I love you, man.
Hey, love you too, man. And if you ever need anything, you know where to find me. But if anybody has any questions, please feel free to email me or go to Twitter, and you can find me pretty easy, I guess. What is that, like Deion Sanders? You know where to find me.
Know where to find me.
Yeah. But thanks again, Troy. I really appreciate it, man. And we're going to try to get this thing off the ground and help some coaches get better, man.
Yeah, you will. Thank you.
Thank you, buddy. If you need anything, call me.
You come back. You'll come back on about, what do you got? 14 more days?
We're getting close. Yeah. Well, about 15, man. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Lutz will be coming back on like the Wednesday before the clinic.
What we need to do, Troy, what we need to do is you have a live podcast at that thing, man.
Yeah. I could probably do it. Yeah.
Well, hey, if you need something, call me.
All right, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, Troy.